Hi everyone, I hope you're very well. Today is all about careers in radio, and joining me to help shed some light on this is radio expert and CEO at Lyca Radio, Raj Baddhan. Raj, welcome.
Hi Samina, how you doing?
Oh, I'm very well. It's great to have you. Thanks for making time for me. So listen, I'm going to dive straight in. You a man who knows everything about radio. You've got extensive experience of working in Asian radio and in media in general. You've worked in many different roles as well, presenting, journalism, and managing radio stations, no less. I mean, 360 comprehensive knowledge experience. Tell us, what's the one fundamental requirement, if you like, to work in this industry, in radio?
I just want to say, you may say that I know everything about radio. I think I know a lot about radio, but I'm still learning. I want to say that in terms of the kind of experience I've received has been because of everything that I've done over the years. And I always say to anyone who's going to be joining radio or joining media, I think experience counts. Qualifications are there and qualifications are great. But I think when you've had a hands-on experience, when you've done a lot of voluntary experience, is one thing that I always look out for. So, honestly, for me, when I get a CV that is sent to me an email, if I get it down in the post, I always look at the kind of voluntary work that they've done, because that shows not their passion, but also their commitment, and also their how the kind of the drive that they have to do something voluntarily, whether it's a 2-week placement, a 3-week, or a year placement. All that counts. And we always say to everyone, it's not always about the money. If you want to start, always start off a little bit low and then start kind of building yourself up. And that's always been my case. My motto in life has always been the case that, just work ground level and work your way upwards.
So let's talk about that very quickly. So what I'm trying to get from this answer is, does it require a certain kind of person to come into radio? Obviously, there's many different roles, which we'll speak about in a moment, and it requires different personalities. Say if you want to be a presenter or a journalist, and it requires different aspects to a person. So starting at the beginning, can somebody come into radio from any industry, or having studied anything, or not studied for that matter?
So radio's got it's got some various sectors. So radio is, you hear a radio and you hear the presenter. That's one form of radio. There's also a lot of managerial as well. So there's, having a CEO or a managing director under there becomes the programming. Then you've got a salesperson, you've got a marketing person, you've also got someone who works in production, then you've got someone working in social media and marketing. So all that is, it requires different qualifications, different kind of personalities. Obviously, on a CEO level, MD level, you've got someone a little bit more serious. I'm a CEO, but I'm not your serious typical CEO. I don't want to be a conventional CEO. I think working in this industry that we're in, which is radio and media, I think you need to be working with everyone at the same kind of level. And not just that, but also, but when I do that for meetings, obviously I'm a different person. But when I'm on the radio, when I'm doing a radio show, I'm full of flavor, full of color, I think, full of vibrancy. You're giving the listener a bit of a feel-good factor. So all that matters. There's different traits for every role. For instance, for radio, you need to have a great voice. That's the one thing. Secondly, you need to be able to connect with the listener. If you don't connect, if you don't have the personality, then that's a big no. And the third thing you need, obviously, is some understanding of what you're doing on the radio station. So if you're playing, if you're playing Bollywood music, or if you're doing a news show, you need to have some kind of understanding. You can't just go in there expecting to be told how to do these things. And you get training, and you'll be shown how to use the desk and the microphone, or whatever whatever things are in the studio. But generally, when it comes to radio presentation, there's always some kind of understanding you will need to have before you go into that role.
Yeah. So what I would like to highlight at this point is there's, as you said, different kinds of radio stations that have different offerings. So it could be news, it could be Western music, it could be country and Western, it could be rap, it could be Asian music, Bollywood music, or it could be news or current affairs or whatever. So what you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is to get some grounding in that, or if you come with a passion for, say, Bollywood music or rap music or whatever it might be, then that can put you in a better stead to...
Of course, yeah. So when someone sends me a CV, or someone sends me an email to say, Raj, I would like to become a presenter, I always look at the credentials to see what kind of experience they've had, or what kind of understanding they have in their personal lives. Because they might have some passion for, Bollywood music, but they want to do a talk show. But the talk show requires a lot of kind of research, a lot of journalism. So all that put together may not work for someone who just likes Bollywood music. If you want to be playing someone's Bollywood music, you'll be doing a lot of current affairs. It's a lot of political stuff. There's going to be a lot of understanding in terms of, you know, what you're saying has going to be balanced and neutral. So all these things matter because of legalities. So yeah, in terms of background and in terms of like understanding, you need to make sure that you have got the right kind of credentials for any kind of role that you're doing at a radio station.
Yeah, no, that's really sound advice, because especially around the legalities, if you have a current affairs show or a talk show, if you say something that breaks the law or is not verified, then that could land the station in a lot of trouble. So
everyone knows that we've got a watchdog called Ofcom. Ofcom's always watching to see if you know, stations are, you know, being neutral when it comes to political broadcast. And secondly, you know, make sure you're adhering to the rules and regulations. There's a lot of rules and regulations in broadcasting, and everyone's always watching because there are some snitches on other radio stations or other, you know, media outlets that, you know, want to get the other stations or the rivals in trouble. So you just got to be like on guard all the time.
Oh no, I think it's critical, and you know, same in TV as well. There's so many rules and regulations that you've got to know about. So yeah, that I think doing a lot of research before you get perhaps into radio, having a passion is what you've said, and getting yourself familiarized with that environment. So talking of that, what are some steps in? I mean, I've worked in radio previously, and my route in at that time was community radio. I think that's a good starting point. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely, I agree. Samina, you know what? You've been a fantastic broadcaster, by the way. I do want to say that, yeah, I think working on a community level, especially your community radio, there's so many community radios. I think Ofcom seems to be handing licenses left, right, and centre to a lot of community radio stations. It's always a great place to start. They don't pay because it's a community project. But like I said to you, it's not always about that. If you want to have that passion, if you've got that drive to do something, I'm sure you can do that. It's a couple of hours, you know, a day to do a show. And if you like, you know, like presenting in terms of your favorite music and talking, then it's a great place to start. And then, you know, once you've done that, I think it's always good to get some other kind of work. So we start contacting professional, or shall I say, commercial radio stations, and start contacting them and start saying to them, you know what, I'm actually doing a placement or I'm doing something on a community radio level, but I would like to kind of get some experience on a commercial radio side, which is obviously a bigger outlet. And that's how you start kind of, you know, building your network, and that's how you start also pushing out, you know, your contacts to other bigger brands, and that's how you start moving in that direction.
So I'm just going to share some of my experience, because like you're in a position of hiring, and I was at that time a position of trying to get my foot through the door. So a lot of people are going to empathize with what my situation was there at that time. So the reason I got into community radio was to build myself a demo, to do lots, as much. I threw myself into it, like, oh, you want me to go and interview, do red carpet? No problem. You want me to host a, you know, like a drive time show? No problem. Whatever it was. So when it comes to the hiring side, which, you know, that you're in that privileged position, what would you so it's better, the advice I always give is demonstrate something, what you can do, rather than talk about it. So if somebody were to send you a link to a demo versus a CV, just a CV saying, oh, I really want to work in radio, you know, which way are you going to sway? I kind of think I know, but
yes, you know, only this week I received an email from someone who was interested in becoming a radio broadcaster here at Lyca Radio, and it was just a quick email to say, I've got passion for radio, I love listening to Lyca Radio, I want to become a presenter. And then for me to follow it up, because there's no attachment to it, there's no CV to it, and there was no you know, no show reel or a demo, and I'm like, if someone has got that passion or that drive to do something, you should be able to do that in the first instance. So I completely agree. And especially working at a community radio level, you can build that. I mean, you should use every kind of facility there is at this community radio station to build your own brand. And I always say that every person on the radio station is a brand, and that's how they should be treated. The radio station is a brand, and then under the radio station brand, you have different personalities. Each personality is a radio brand. And what I would say is that utilize whatever there is there at a community radio station to build your own show reel, to build your own brand, and kind of push yourself out there into the outlets. And yes, when you're contacting other radio stations, you know, make it a point to say, this is my show reel. Don't make the show go too long. I think a couple of minutes is fine. And then you have your social media, which is absolutely massive these days. Try to build something on your Instagram. It's all about self-PR, self-brand awareness. And I think if you don't do that, then the hirers will be thinking, oh no, so you can't do this for yourself, and yet you want to be in a media kind of space, which these days is all about Instagram and the razzmatazz or what's going on in the showbiz world. If you're getting into kind of like that showbiz sector. So I think if you're not doing that, then you're not really winning, and you're not really in the right area. But I think you should do a lot more of doing the kind of networking and also going out there with social media.
I think that's really critical what you just said, and it's not just about this advice isn't just for presenters. It's like, even if you work behind the scenes, if you're a producer, if you're a researcher in radio, whatever that might be, or even a technician, I think what you've said is really pertinent. You've got to share what you're doing so that people can see what you're involved in, because in this day and age, it's all about promoting what, showcasing to people what you can do. And often, and I'm sure you do this too, when I'm in hiring positions, I check out people's social media to see what kind of person are they. Are they promoting their work? Or, just to get a flavor of that human being, really. Do you do the same?
Absolutely, I do, yeah. And I'm on that level where I think I moved off from the days I used to do a lot of Instagram. I still do a lot of Instagram because I've got my presenter mode on. So when I've got my presenter mode on, I'm a bit more kind of wacky. So I'm on Instagram. But when I'm a bit more, I'm a CEO kind of outfit, then I'm thinking, I need to go to LinkedIn. So when I'm on LinkedIn, I'm always looking out to see what people are saying and what people are, especially people who want to join Lyca. And there's some kind of opening we've got a Lyca and someone's applied for it. So I always see on LinkedIn the kind of work that they have delivered, because there should be some kind of demonstration of some of the work that they've done, and there should be some kind of a feeler that when you look at someone's profile, it should give you that kind of flavor of what the person's about.
Oh, totally. And also for the people who are sharing what they're doing online, it's a great way to network. I follow a lot of people to this day, and I've been in this media industry for donkey's years, but I still follow people because I'm interested, I'm curious, I want to know what's happening, what projects are coming up, what new formats are happening. And I think I've learned a lot, and like you said at the beginning of this interview, you never stop learning, right?
Never. And that's the thing with me. I mean, even now here, when someone says to me, oh, you're the top of your game, I'm like, not really. For me, the journey has just started. Okay, fine, I was at Sabras Radio in Leicester for 14 years prior to joining Lyca. But that doesn't mean to me that, I know everything. There's so many new things I've learned since I've been at Lyca, and there's so many new things that I want to learn, this journey onwards. So, I've been here at Lyca for nearly 2 years now. So I've learned so much I've grasped, but I'm always thinking I want to better myself by doing a lot more things and kind of pushing my limits a little bit more.
I think that's really inspirational, and I think that's a great message to send out to those who are entry level, or maybe not even at entry level, who want to get a career in radio. So, what are some of the challenges? Because we've got to be realistic about this. It's all looks, glitz, and glamour working in media, working in radio. But tell me, what are some of the challenges working in radio? Say if you're at entry level, what are some of the challenges?
Challenges these days, I think, for presenters, I think the biggest challenge for them is getting themselves noticed, because there's such competition. I mean, and we're going to go back to social media. I think social media is so influential these days that, if someone's got a bigger reach, or someone's got, a little bit more kind of activity on their social media platforms, then a hirer will be looking at that rather than someone who may be not so active. When it comes to radio, for me, I don't know why, but I always think about myself and the kind of, not struggles, but maybe some of the kind of challenges that I faced when I first started.
And what were they?
And I wanted to make sure that I wanted to have the voice. I wanted to make sure the voice connects with the audience. I think if the voice doesn't connect with the audience, I think that's where you would just not be successful, and your show would flop. And for me, I think if the voice is not right, it doesn't matter how you look like. For me, I always think myself as, you watch The Voice on BBC, ITV, whatever it is, and if the chair was the other way around, I would go for the voice rather than what they look like, because for me, it's about having that personality, that connect, and that delivery. And if the delivery is not right, then that's where the problem would be. So all that matters to me.
Well, that's even more significant then, that people put together some audio recording of their voice before they contact people like you, hiring positions to say, I'm interested in presenting. Or if perhaps they want to work behind the scenes, send to you something they've written or a podcast they've produced, or to demonstrate to you, I understand what you're doing and I want to learn more. Give me a chance.
Absolutely. And Samina, do you want to go back to your point about challenges? I do want to say also, I think there's always this kind of, there's always been these kind of taboos to do with, like, Asian media doesn't pay well. Asian media is very, they're just sales houses. And it's true, a lot of them are sales houses, because there are a lot of TV channels that just focus on, not so much on the content, because the content is imported from India or Pakistan, because they just want to sell whatever inventory they have. And fine, that's their kind of call for it. However, I believe that they should change this kind of perception people have about Asian media. They should change that. I'm successful in what I'm doing at the moment because of my hard work and my dedication, and I would love to encourage other kids, children, students who are trying to get into media to say, it's a lovely place to work. I'd love to give opportunities to people that want to join, because I want to tell them that Asian media is a lot of fun. It doesn't pay, it's great, but it's always great for like a side part-time job kind of thing. Unless you're working for the BBC, and again, BBC have their own limitations. Unless you're working for Global or Bauer, that's another thing. So it all depends on what you want to do. But I think working in Asian media, being an Asian person, I think it always helps having some kind of work in Asian media.
So tell me, is it only Asian people who can work in Asian media?
No. So in fact, we've got a couple of non-Asians that work here at Lyca. They don't work on the radio because their pronunciation of film songs or film names would trouble them, but that's their own reasoning. Otherwise, behind the scenes, we've got a couple of people that work with us that are non-Asian, and I encourage any person from any background to join us.
That's really great. Do you know what? It's been really great to get an insight into what you're up to at Lyca, and also, about the industry, the Asian radio industry. And all this advice you've given, it's really valuable. Now, before we wrap up, how can people tune into Lyca if they want to, hear what your offerings are?
Oh, thanks, Samina. You know what? Honestly, I had such a good time talking to you. And all I want to do for me is encourage people who were probably where I was about 15 years ago, 14 years ago, and try to break into Asian radio or break into media, full stop. I want to tell them how much you can enjoy being on this side where I am. All you got to do is put up hard work, dedication, and just keep trying. Don't give up. Honestly, the motto in life is never give up. Just carry on doing what you're doing, and you will succeed one day. Exactly. And as for Lyca Radio, let me tell you, we've got 2 radio stations. One's called Lyca Radio, one's called Lyca Gold Radio. Lyca Radio plays a lot more younger Bollywood music. Lyca Gold Radio plays a lot of the classic Bollywood music. They're both based in London, in Canary Wharf, in swanky studios in Canary Wharf. Lyca Radio broadcasts on 1458 in London, and Lyca Gold broadcasts on 1035 in London, and they're both available on a Lyca Radio mobile app as well, which is the Lyca Radio.
Brilliant. Well, I'll put a link to your website in the show notes, and and if people want to tune in and just find out a little bit more about Lyca and your good self, they can. Listen, it's been wonderful speaking to you. You're a super talented guy, and anybody who gets the pleasure to work with you, they're lucky, they're fortunate. So I wish you all success at Lyca. You've been there 2 years. You've really turned things around massively. So yeah, congratulations on that too.
Thank you, Samina. Honestly, it means a lot, especially when it's coming from people like yourself in the industry that are, highly influential and also respected. So thank you. And what I want to do, like I said to you, is I want to give opportunities to people. I want to give opportunities to people that are especially struggling to get into radio or get into media. I'm here. Contact me. I'm quite approachable. I'm quite good at communication, or some kind of communication, even though Samina and I did. I feel bad for something that I didn't do. No.
It's cool. It's cool. Let's not go there. This man is great. You want to, just get some information or get connected, or if you're interested in working in radio, why not drop him an email? He's super, super friendly and accessible. Thanks again, Raj, for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Samina. Thank you very much for your time.